All right. Good afternoon. Happy lunch hour. I'm Hannah Perky. I'm with Evelo team Keller Williams Realty, and I'm joined by Bob Warner for our monthly market update in regards to what's happening in the real estate market in central Indiana. So we'll jump right in. We like to keep these short and sweet, but get you the stats that you need. So, Bob, go ahead and share with us what happened in the local housing market in January.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've done this for quite a while now. Like you said, we'll keep it as short and sweet as we can, but try to look at the same things each month. First up is that median sales price, and we like to look at things year over year just so you kind of know what we're looking at. So we ended January of 25 at a median sales price of 290. That was up 5.3% over where we were last January. So still seeing some growth in like that 4 to 6% range, which is kind of where we ended year over year last year. Next up is that median days on market. So we ended there at 32 for the month of January. Last January, we were at 31. So almost flat. Officially, that's 3.2%, but obviously just a 1 day jump there. So pretty consistent. Next up is that month's supply of inventory. So again, a balanced market between being a buyer and seller's market is about 4 to 5 months of inventory. Obviously, in 2020, 2021, 2022, we spent a lot of that time under a month. And for the last couple of years, we started slowly creeping back up. Still not balanced yet, but we did get to 2.6%. That's a little bit bigger of a jump over last year at almost a 17% jump. And then last up in this first batch here, we like to take a look at that kind of average list to sales price ratio. So on average in our central Indiana market for January, we ended up at 97.5% of list price, which is a little bit higher than where we were last year. But again, go back 2 years here where, greater than 50% of the sales were over 100%. So definitely some
Yeah.
difference from there.
Yeah, those are really interesting stats. I'm actually surprised at how flat it is year over year. Looking at January, right? I know we talk a lot about what we're feeling as real estate agents in the month that we're experiencing, but to see the data afterwards, that's interesting. Okay, so on that, the shifting market, we're always talking about how it's shifting. What else are you tracking right now to look at that shift?
Yeah, so the first one kind of up in that is we started taking a look more at active inventory, closed sales, a couple other things just to kind of monitor those as well. So that active inventory for the month of January 25 ended up at a little over 4,500 units. So that is up pretty significantly in terms of active inventory from where we were last year, which kind of goes in line with that month supply of inventory, right? We see that number go up, we're probably going to see that active inventory number go up as well. Closed sales, again, very similar to last year in January, 1741 versus 1718. So that's remained pretty flat. So that just means that inventory that's coming on the market is just taking a little longer to sell or absorb, is another term for that. The number of new listings, again, pretty comparable to where we were last January at 2396. Last January, we had 2314. So kind of amazes me how close some of these numbers really stay from year to year. Some consistency in the market for sure. And then along with that list to sales price ratio, what we like to look at is the volume of homes that still are closing at or above full list price. So that was at 12.6% for January. So that's where that number, when we say things are very hyper local or very focused in certain areas, you might have certain areas and certain price points where there's still 20, 30% of the listings that might sell over list price or at list price. And you might have other areas where it's pretty common for them to maybe be 3% under, 5% under, 6% under. It just depends, but that's always an interesting one to take a look at as well.
Yeah. Okay. Love it. And you're right, with some of those being when we're talking in the thousands, with them to be so close is crazy. All right. What about interest rates? That's always, I think, our most common question that we get. What would you say about interest rates this week?
Yeah, so they've remained pretty consistent for the last couple of months. We've been in this like 6.75 to 7-ish range. So when we did this last month, we were at 6.93 was that 30-year fixed rate mortgage average. When I pulled the data yesterday, we're at 6.89, right? So we're within zero point zero 0.04 tenths of a point. So I feel like, get some of those lender updates every week, and it seems like every week for the last 4 or 5 weeks, it's been pretty consistently right in that area. So again, no expectation for huge changes this year in terms of what those forecasters indicate. So hopefully we shouldn't see any rates above 7 again. Obviously, we never know that for certain, but the
Mhm.
general consensus is that we probably wouldn't see more than a quarter or half a point difference from the beginning of this year to the end of this year.
Right. And I think that's what we were, as real estate agents, we've getting a lot of updates of, okay, now that the year's running, here's our adjusted forecast, is what a lot of the communication has been. So,
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
Awesome. Anything else that you'd leave us with today?
Yeah, we just always try to end with something. Obviously, the beginning of the year brings lots of new potential opportunities for buying or selling. Maybe you've been sitting on the fence or sitting on the sidelines for a couple of years thinking interest rates might change. But the bottom line is buying a house at a time when both mortgage rates and home prices are favorable is a little bit like trying to time the stock market, right? You're probably not going to ever come out ahead in that. I think the key thing is there are pros and cons to buying a home in any market, and there's advantages and disadvantages. But the bottom line is, when it makes sense for you personally, it probably makes the most sense to buy, regardless of what the interest rate is or maybe where housing prices are. Perfect example, if you sat out the last couple of years because you thought interest rates were going to be different. Here we are, basically the same rate we were 2 years ago, but the price of that same home has probably increased 8 to 10% in that time. So,
Hmm.
just
Yeah.
something to think about. If it's been on your list for the last couple of years and you're wondering if this is the right year, might make sense to sit down, chat, kind of get an idea of what home prices are in the area you're looking at, and see if this might make the perfect sense for you to timing wise to make that move this year.
Absolutely. Yep. Okay. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for prepping that data. We hope that was useful to you guys. If you have any questions or are considering buying or selling, you can reach out to us. You can either message us on Facebook or we'll put our phone number and email in the notes below. So we hope you have a great rest of the day. And we do have first time home buyer seminar. So if that's something that has piqued your interest, that is tonight. And you'll find it on our Facebook page under events. Thanks so much and have a great one. Bye bye.